Hi, thank you for joining us. With us today is Jeremy Watkin, the Director of Customer Experience and Support at NumberBarn. How are you doing today?
Doing great. It's great to be with you, Ben.
Well, thank you for joining us today. Why don't we dive right into it? Why don't you tell us who you are, what you do, and your path to becoming a CX leader?
Yeah, so like you said, I am Director of Support and Experience at NumberBarn. And yeah, my background really came out of the contact center, looking for a job out of college. I found a job working in a call center, doing customer support, worked my way up into management. And somewhere in that, probably 10, 12, 15 years into my career, I started hearing about this customer experience thing. And it's easy to equate customer experience with customer service. We know that it's not. My favorite thing is the analogy of the pie, and customer service is just one piece of the pie. There's a whole big part of the pie where the customer never talks to your company, and that whole thing is fascinating to me. I love things like voice of the customer, really try and weave that stuff into our work in the contact center, and really try and branch out past customer support and contact center and think about things like customer self-service. Think about how marketing and support, or product and support, how we can work together to help the customer experience everything we have to offer better. So yeah, it's definitely become a passion, and realize there's just a great network of people out there that care about this as well.
That's great. And I want to hone in on your passion for it. What advice would you have for somebody's first 100 days leading a CX team?
I I'm sure different people do it differently. I am number one, and maybe this is coming from a contact center person, but I start by listening. I want to sit down. I want to even maybe take some of that frontline training, at least read through it, watch some of the training videos and stuff like that to understand from our team's perspective that are interacting directly with customers. I want to hear from that team as well and understand their pain points. I want to hear some of the really juicy calls and read emails from customers and understand. Not only I think that's the best way for me to understand the product, understand our processes, and then understand pain points, and then really I can work on helping to figure out which are the big pain points that we need to solve. Work on building bridges with all, we talk in CX a lot about silos, building bridges to all those different silos and getting us all working together toward a common mission. And I hope that I'm at a company that has a great mission. We have a great mission at NumberBarn, and certainly that comes from the top, and that's something that if we have that mission we're all working toward, then the CX people can really get everybody working toward that mission. So that's really where my focus is in those first 100 days.
That sounds great. And you talked about a little bit about what you're doing at NumberBarn. Why don't we focus in on that? What is your current CX strategy?
Our current CX strategy, it is a lot of voice of the customer. Really try not to just leave it at surveys. When you think of, we have a customer satisfaction survey that only gets about a 15% response rate. So you think about, those 85 percent of customers that aren't saying anything, or maybe, if they had a bad experience, maybe they're going and saying things to their network that we have no control over. And that keeps me up at night too. So not really, I sleep pretty well, um, but yeah, that's a big part of the strategy. Looking at certainly going through those surveys. I've set up other triggers in our ticketing system. We'll look for customers that are angry. Um, Reading through randomly interactions. I love reading through. We actually trained our customer support team to tag tickets where customers ask for something that we aren't able to do. Maybe it's a feature request. So that's a big part of it. I recently turned on the community feature in our ticketing system and in our help center, and have been promoting that. And it's been cool to see, we get a decent amount of customers that are just trying to find a channel where they can get an instant response, but we are starting to get customers wanting to engage with our product team and marketing, and so that's exciting. Um, Another big area of our strategy, I'm sure you hear this a lot, is just AI and self-service,
Hmm.
um, and using every tool I can to look at how our customers are engaging with our chatbot on our website. Are we creating too much friction for them? Are we not creating enough, and we're letting them through too quickly when there are resources that can help them? Um, Really, our chatbot is really an out of the box sort of thing right now, and looking at ways that we can, just make it more powerful. Let customers pay their bill, let them recover their password, let them have a different shopping experience on our website. So those are some of the things I've really been working on from a CX standpoint. But it comes down to listening and reading all the time, and there's just so much insight in there. The more
Hmm.
you listen, read, ask questions, the more insight you get from customers and from your internal staff. And so that's a lot of the focus right now at NumberBarn.
That makes a lot of sense. And how do you measure the success of the strategies?
Well, that's a great question. I think it's still a work in progress. I mean, we look at metrics like customer satisfaction. Um, in the contact center, we try and weave CX into our quality assurance. So not just, if for those that might not be familiar with quality assurance in a contact center, it often becomes a checklist of the things people did and didn't do. But we have a question in there that says, if you were in the customer's shoes, would you have been satisfied with this interaction? Um, and that could it's such an open-ended question. It could be maybe the agent wasn't friendly, or maybe the agent, like this customer asked for something that we couldn't do, and the agent just needed some help being more creative to help them find a solution. So that we really try and weave CX into a lot of those discussions. It's when I go back to this AI self-service, that's still kind of a work in progress. We do get metrics around how many tickets or phone calls were deflected because of the AI, and it's difficult to put a lot of stock in those metrics right now.
Mm.
Some customers get frustrated and hang up, and that may show up as a self-solve. And
Oh, rip.
um, I really want them to get frustrated and contact support so we can watch their journey. We can read about how they interacted with the bot and how they got to a human. But that doesn't always happen. And so the nice thing is, we use for our help center, we use Zendesk, and they keep adding some helpful tools that are helping us be able to see how customers are interacting with the bot. But that's not it's not a concise metric right now at
Yeah,
all, as much as I would like it to be. But I hope we get closer to that as we keep working on that.
that makes a lot of sense. And that sounds like a little bit of a pain point. Do you have any other pain points when you're leading your team?
Um, Let me think about that one for a minute. Um, Trying to think beyond. Okay, so as far as pain points when leading my team, um, the hardest part I think is that, and this is really a discipline that I'm thinking through it a lot and trying to learn, especially when we have so many things that customers want, so many customer experience initiatives that we could do, and a limited amount of resources to do them. It is really hard, and obviously I'm skewed more toward the customer support side of things, but it's really hard to not just constantly chase after the issue of the day and really
Hmm.
think strategically about the next initiative that makes the most sense for our company. Whether it's going to generate more revenue for us, uh, whether it's going to impact some of our biggest customers or impact the highest volume of customers. I am trying to get better. I still sometimes hit the panic button when we get a customer that yells at us, and it's amazing how often that happens. And then, a week later, maybe we found a workaround for that customer, and that issue really didn't end up being that big of an issue. So I'm trying to be a good citizen at our company and have good discussions with our engineers and our product team, recognize that they're trying to do the best they can. And that if we're just firing stuff at them all day long, everybody's just going to get overwhelmed. Nobody's going to be happy. So we're trying to be mature adults and and set good sound priorities. I would say that's the biggest. I don't know. I don't know if that challenge ever goes away. I
Mhm.
think you always kind of have to wrestle with that balance and try and be, you know, it helps as much interacting internally at your company as it does interacting with customers, but trying to have emotional intelligence, put, recognize that you may be emotional because there's a pressing issue, there's a customer yelling at you, maybe the customer posted on Trustpilot or Facebook something negative, but that doesn't necessarily need to derail us. And sometimes it's easy to get emotional and demand that we fix this right away, but that's not always the best or most responsible approach. So I feel
Mhm.
like to sum it up, I think I'm learning how to behave like an adult.
Yeah. I think we all are, honestly. That's one of my biggest pain points. You can ask some kids. Um, how do you get buy-in
Um,
from the C-suite?
it is. I mean, I think this leads right into that. I think
Hmm.
it's pulling them into the discussion. We're 40 to 50 employees, so we all know each other. We all sit by each other. They can even if somebody's on the phone with a customer, the C-suite hears it.
Hmm.
No, so it gets different as the company scales for sure, um, but really being communicative with them, letting them know that you're going through the discipline of, how does this impact revenue? How are we being responsible with just resource constraints? We have, 10, 12 developers at our company. They can only do so much.
Hmm.
So I think if the C-suite, and I as a CX professional need to understand, like, the revenue potential, the cost of the labor and things like that. Like, uh, I think sometimes it's easy to bang on the C-suite for caring about things like money, but their job is to their job is to keep the company profitable. So, um, and in some ways, as a manager, I kind of have to be a middleman between
Hmm.
customer support and the C-suite and be good at explaining those things to both sides of that. And I feel like, it's another thing I'm learning, just like you mentioned, learning how to explain things effectively to our kids.
Yeah, yeah. If I can explain to my kid, I can explain it to my boss, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's a good one. I like this. Do you have a specific example of when you've used customer feedback to improve your company?
Yeah, one of my favorites. We deal with number porting a lot at NumberBarn because we're the world's largest telephone number marketplace. And one thing we were able to do that I'm really proud of, we have these customer satisfaction surveys. We were able to add a field on our tickets to ask customers which carrier they're porting their number to. And
Hmm.
we were able to actually look at the customer satisfaction on tickets um, based on the carrier they were porting to. And we found there were, um, we figured out which carriers we were most often porting to. And then B, we found out which ones were the most difficult to port to. And we found we had a ton of internal knowledge about those different carriers, but it wasn't well documented. So it was really cool to collaborate with our team and mine that internal knowledge. We actually wrote articles for like the top 30 carriers that we port to, giving advice on how to port those numbers to them. And then For that, there were a couple that were really mysteries. And so I actually, this is really thinking about the customer journey. I actually started doing some of those tickets for a little while,
Mhm.
and even going so far as to call that other carrier. And over time, we actually were able to find the right department or the right person in tier three, or the right supervisor that could actually help us accomplish what we needed to accomplish.
Okay.
I really mind a lot of different options. Like I even contacted VPs of support at a couple of those carriers
Yeah.
on LinkedIn. Never got a response, but I'm really proud to say that that we have shaved days off the time that it takes to port a number to some of those carriers, because we were able to work together, to pool our knowledge together, to figure out the gaps in our knowledge, to I've even created triggers in Zendesk that say, hey, I see that you're porting to this carrier. Here's some helpful tips on how to do that. Here's who you need to call at that carrier to get this done. Here's all the information we can provide you. And it's gotten a lot better.
That's awesome.
Um, so that was a cool just process that we dug into and were able to improve. There's still room for improvement, um, but yeah, it's a testament to when you have, whether it's an NPS survey or a customer satisfaction survey, the scores are nice, but ultimately you have to be able to figure out those key drivers and then
Yes.
break them down as much as you can, and then you can find actions that you can take out of those.
Yes, you have to put it to use, right? You got to do it and then
Yeah.
actually read into it and use it. I'm going to change gears a little bit here. What do you think is the future of customer experience?
I mean, we're hearing so much about AI, so it's hard not to just say AI and drop my mic. But
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you.
I think my approach, and I've worked in the outsourcing industry, and here's some of the buzz there that potentially AI will eliminate frontline support jobs, uh, potentially eliminate some offshore jobs. And it's certainly possible. I think what we're really learning is there's going to be a constant dance between the AI and the humans. Um, I think as we can make the AI work better for our specific case, for our specific customers and their journey, the cases that the humans have to handle will get more complex, and
Hmm.
that's the way it should be. Less order takers and more people that are just really good at troubleshooting and solving problems. So I think that's really the focus and the future. And I think I heard I've gone through a little bit of knowledge centered service. It's a methodology for really building out a knowledge base, and they call your support and your staff, they call them knowledge workers. And I love that as you train and as you grow your folks that are working with customers, these knowledge workers, these people that have essential knowledge to solve problems, I think really they're moving away from being customer support agents or billing, people that you just call to place an order, to people that can really solve complex issues, and honestly they should be compensated accordingly.
Hmm. Absolutely. It's a tool to use to make you better at your job.
Yeah. Oh, and that, I guess the other thing that I've just been seeing and watching, I think these are the things, I get hit up for demos a lot
Hmm.
from salespeople, but looking at tools that help contact center agents become more efficient, whether it's finding knowledge faster, or maybe using generative AI to help type a response to a customer.
Hmm.
I think the big challenge that I've seen with some of those tools is a lot of them might mine our knowledge base to get information, which is
Yep.
great. Um, but where the gap is, that where our support team has to step in, is making sure that it's tailored specifically to the customer.
Hmm.
There's account specific information that we have to communicate, that I think the AI can probably do a lot more than it's doing. And we're a fairly small use case for some of those companies, but uh, But that goes back to that balance. The more, getting AI to do more, but also having the people perfectly in place to make sure that it doesn't go off the rails.
Yeah,
Because the last thing we want to do is to alienate paying customers.
yeah, absolutely. Especially accidentally while you're trying to like improve your business, right? It'd be a side effect.
Yeah.
Well, here's my last question for you. What else should we know about you, and how can we learn more about your career?
Yeah. It's funny. I started a blog, over 10 years ago now, called Customer Service Life. I haven't been as active on it lately. I've been uh, more entrenched in operations lately. But I had a friend once. Well, we're really good friends now. His name's Nate Brown. He runs CX Accelerator, which is a great Slack community. And he was like starstruck to meet me after reading my blog, and I was a little bit horrified by that. Like, I'm I am just a guy running a small contact center, and my blog is just from somebody who's sharing experiences, doing the work of CX, trying to better engage with our customers and build a better experience. Um, and I love nothing more than to connect with people who are maybe they have a problem that I've solved that I can help them with. So if you're watching this, listening to this, and you have a question or anything, I'm approachable and I love to talk about this stuff. So I think that's what I would want people to know about me.
Awesome. And where can they reach you?
Yeah, definitely check out the blog. I'm active on X, formerly Twitter, at JT Watkin. I'm on LinkedIn under Jeremy Watkin. Yeah, or if you go to numberbarn.com and get on the little chat bot, use it a little bit, and then ask for Jeremy, and then give me feedback on how that went. That's You'll
Awesome.
definitely be able to reach me that way.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Ben.
Yes. Bye.